About 40% of companies have moved to a 4-day work week. Lots of people want to work 4 days a week. I'd love to have a 3-day weekend. Let's talk to a man who knows a lot more than most people do about it. He's a career coach. His name is Larry Sharpe, and of course, he's a very famous libertarian joining us right now. Good morning, Larry. How are you doing today, sir?
Hey, good morning, brother. So happy to be here. How you been?
I've been great. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Larry. So, I guess just give us your thoughts, big picture. What do you think about companies moving to a 4-day work week? Good thing, bad thing?
Yeah, this is a legacy from the lockdowns. Without question, it is. This is what people don't realize. When the very wealthy who decided, wait a minute, I can go make money and still live at my second home, they started saying, let me change how things think, right? The wealthy people, particularly in large cities, always have at least two homes. They have one in that city and then one someplace else. The one someplace else is always a nicer home. So they went there during the lockdowns and they said, wait a minute, I can make money doing this. But so did the PMC, right? The PMC is a professional management class for those who aren't aware of that. The PMC is the second tier right underneath the wealthy. They found out that since they live in the suburbs, they could make money from the suburbs. And they're like, well, wait a minute, I like this idea too. And then the people who are working, the more working class people, they're the ones who had to adapt their lifestyle. They're the ones who said, you know what, I'm at home with my parents, or I'm going to have more roommates, or I'm going to do whatever it takes, because now that I've basically been laid off for a year or two or pushed aside, I found other ways to do things I like. I want to be able to listen to Austin Petersen's podcast every morning and not be bothered by my boss, right? I want to be able to play video games for an hour in the middle of the day. I want to be able to do those things that I enjoy that I can't do if I've got to spend, 20 minutes in the metro every morning and then sit in front of my boss.
Well, let's be honest, the metro sucks, Larry. And I mean, not to speak up,
Correct.
not to go all in on the workers of the world unite here or anything, but I got to say, like, the commute in the mornings out there on the East Coast is hell, Larry.
Absolutely. Yes. So now all this happened. So now the problem, though, is while a boss might go, great, why doesn't everybody stay home? If everybody stays home, that destroys your company culture. That destroys your idea generation. That breaks everything down in your actual company. So you've got to find a way to get people back into the office. So they do things like give you a 4-day work week. So you'll be here for 4 days and you'll work for 3. But in reality, you'll have to come to the office 2 of those 4 days. So you're in the office for 2 days, you're working from home 2 days, and you're off for 3. The idea is you still get work, you're able to keep company culture and still get idea generation. And that's why they do things like get baristas there, or have or instead of baristas, maybe they will have childcare there. Because the second piece is the PMC female class has done a good job. They actually have had a baby boom. So now if you're a professional management class and you're a woman, you had a baby when you were home. Why? Because you were home. Well, now you don't want to leave that baby. So they've got to provide childcare and things like that. This is all because of a legacy of the lockdowns.
Now, if you're just tuning in, we're speaking to Larry Sharpe. He is a corporate career consultant and a pretty famous libertarian. We're talking to him about the 4-day work week. So maybe it's bad for companies, but Larry, I mean, at some point, like, I'm not suggesting that we should become like Europe, but at some point, like, there's got to be a little bit of give and take. When it comes to like the workplace culture, when you describe, workplace culture, what I'm thinking about are all these pointless meetings where
Mm-hmm.
employers have a waste to, and all of these pointless middle managers whose only job has been to try and it has been to sit over people's shoulders and just make sure that they're remaining productive, and they don't want to sit down and come up with new metrics to be able to determine how effective their employees are being. So I mean, and to be quite frank, remote work has shown that there's a lot of redundancy when it comes to middle management. A lot of these companies probably realize that they don't need to have that many employees, but I mean, you need the employees. You may not need the middle managers, even though they are employees as well. But I think if anything, it's kind of laid bare, like, what's worthwhile, what kind of work is worthwhile, and what's not. And I mean, Honestly, I kind of hate the whole workplace culture ideal, Larry. I don't think that it really contributes overall. I think because usually it's some kind of smarmy, like, birthday party or something like that, where people who don't like each other and don't want to spend time together are forced to do so anyway. So I mean, you've been there, right? I don't know if you've ever worked at a Walmart.
100%.
I've worked at a Walmart, and they waste your time in these stupid meetings, and they make you sing and dance and clap, and it's just it's
Well,
retarded.
but there's a problem here, right? What you're saying is true, but then you use the wrong company. And what I mean by that is if you are working class, your life doesn't change much. That's the sad part, right? If you're working class, you're going to still have to wind up going to show up and do the birthday party thing. But your first part is 100% in the money, right? That's one of the reasons why there are so many layoffs. It isn't the only reason, but it is one of them. It is the idea that, yeah, I'm finding out that I don't need all these people. And here's the problem. We are still, particularly in our government, we're in the industrial mindset. We should be in a post-industrial mindset, right? The post-industrial mindset is what you're talking about. We still worry about people getting paid by the hour, right? This is not valuable in this type of situation. I have to find other ways of measuring how my employees are productive, whether it is the amount of things they put out or, customer service, whatever is the issue. And this is challenging. A lot of companies don't know how to do that. And worse, larger organizations like government or union shops don't know how to handle it either. They are forced into this per hour mindset, and it does not work. And now you add things like the Family Leave Act, you have a bigger problem, right? If I'm a union worker and I've now decided to have this contract where I've agreed to get paid more because I'm going to work on a weekend or I'm going to work during the holidays or something like that. Now I've had my union negotiate this, so I'm getting paid double, triple. When the government steps in and says, well, now we're going to have a Family Medical Leave Act. Well, wait, does that count with my union? Does that not count with my union? How does that work? Well, wait a minute, I want a 4-day weekend. Okay, well, does that count with my union? Does that not count? What about a Family Medical Leave Act? We have not figured this out at all. And we're doing it the hard way right now. And sadly, the people who are paying are not the wealthy. The people who are paying are the middle class.
That's fascinating there. You can send us a text this morning on the Wake Up America show to 573-319-1586. If you have a question for Larry, again, send us in a text, 573-319-1586. Little D Trucking over on the live chat says that I'm going to start the truck 4-day work week. Lol. Nobody's going to have anything. Okay, so not
That's my
everybody
point,
can do
right?
it.
If you're working at Walmart, or if you're working class, if you're blue collar, right, or I'll even go pink collar, right? Pink collar meaning you're more of what they call the heel, right? Healthcare, education, admin, and or learning, right? You're in that world, right? That is you don't get a 4-day work week, right? You got to go to work. If you're a trucker, he's right. You got to truck this stuff out. This is heavily for people who are in the PMC or wealthy or people who aren't working every day in that regard.
Okay, but here's the thing. Elon Musk is in big trouble today, right? He sent out this
Mm-hmm.
employee, he's going JD Rockefeller on everybody. He's yeah, get back into the mines, little children, you're going to work 24/7. And yes, our Silicon Valley, fat, lazy, overpaid, underworked to a large extent. Sure, absolutely, right? But let's just say that, that it wasn't Twitter if it was somebody else, right? A lot of corporate workplaces, their culture is a little bit toxic. So let's just say, Elon Musk, has pushed his company perhaps a little bit too far because strategically it's a blunder to have your employees, running for the hills when you're running this massive company like what Elon Musk is doing, and he says no more remote work. I mean, yesterday he had after 5 p.m. he had to send out a memo, calling people back, actually calling people saying, please don't leave. I mean, employers need to be ready to accommodate workers who are used to being able to have this kind of work-life balance that gives them the flexibility to actually have children. I mean, we do need to be having children, right?
Yes, but there's the other piece, right? It isn't just flexibility. You want to have an environment to where people want to come to work. That's the thing that they're not getting. And guys like Elon Musk aren't accustomed to that because when you're Elon and you're the only game in town, and Elon has gone out of his way to be that, right? Oh, I want to go to Mars. I kind of got to work for Elon. Oh, I want to have hybrid cars. Well, I kind of got to work for Elon. As that goes away, people aren't rushing to work for him anymore. Like, there's a whole bunch of social media companies, right? Twitter isn't the only one out there. If I want to be in that world, I don't have to work for Elon. When you're a monopoly, you can be a jerk. But when you're not a monopoly, all of a sudden, not so easy anymore. So Elon now has to change his mindset. He can't just do the cool thing. You can get people to work 80 hours a week. Absolutely. But as libertarian, it's got to be voluntary. You got to want to do it. People will work 80 hours a week if they love what they're doing, if they want to do it, and you got to pay them well. You don't pay them hourly. You give them a nice fat salary or some type of, in best case, some kind of equity in the company or something like that, and they will happily do 80 hours a week. But you can't just demand it. They walk away, and Elon's found that out the hard way.
We're speaking to Larry Sharpe. He is a professional career consultant. He does a lot of good work on talking about these kinds of employee and workplace issues. You're listening and watching to the Wake Up America show with Austin Petersen. Send us a text, 573-319-1586. Larry, if you have to vote for president and it's between Dave Smith and Spike, who are you voting for? Spike Cohen. Spike Cohen or Dave Smith?
I have to for only those two. I'm going to convince. I know them both. I'm going to convince them to jump on the same ticket. Is what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do.
Okay, but if they're running against each other,
I'm going to make them work together. I know them both. I'm going to be on the phone.
But they're not running together. They're running separately. Spike's got Tasha as his vice presidential candidate. And Dave has.
Oh, no. Now, if Tasha's involved, then Spike. I mean, Tasha's the best. Done. That's it. If Tasha's involved, it's Spike. I got Tasha's. Everyone loves Tasha. They actually call Spike Tasha's husband. So yes, if that's the case, Tasha wins hands down. Yes.
How do you feel about the state of the liberty movement right now, Larry?
We got a butt whipping this year. We have not done very well this year at all. But I feel like there were a lot of issues that we had, and you and I discussed this a while ago. I think the Republican Party got beat up this year also. I think that a lot of the things that people thought were good, as I'd mentioned before, were not so good, right? You and I discussed the idea of, we're having a lot of wins. I was like, Republican Party's they're not having wins. These are not wins. They're not wins. And I knew they weren't wins, and I could tell. I was the one who was saying this was not going to be a red wave. I knew Lee Zeldin had no chance of winning New York State. I was talking all this stuff and people were not hearing me. I travel the state. I am still active on the ground. I talk to everybody. I knew what was going to happen. And this is not the right answer. It is in New York State. It is actually harder to get a gun and easier to get an abortion than it was last year. This has not been a win for the Conservative Party or conservative side in my state.
If you had to vote between Ron DeSantis or Donald Trump.
Wow. Wow. You guys are just trying to make me make these hard decisions. I think I may fall back to a Gary Johnsonism. When he was asked that question, he said, Hillary or Trump, gun to the head. He said, pull the trigger.
Hide your guns. It's Gary Johnson. Larry, is there anything else? Is there anything else that you think people should know before I let you go?
Yes, this is actually a good time for us. This is a good time for labor to rethink. It's a good time for employees to rethink. This is a transition period. Sadly, this was supposed to happen over the course of probably 10 or 15 years. Because of the lockdown, it was forced to happen now. So I know it's challenging for a lot of people, but this was supposed to happen anyway. Let's just push through it now so we can figure out what's a better place for everybody to be in when it comes to labor.
Larry Sharpe, he's the man. Larry, where can people follow you online?
You can easily go to LarrySharpe.com. That's where I was campaigning. Or if you want to, just check me out, Larry Sharpe, anywhere. Google Larry Sharpe. You'll see me someplace.
Larry Sharpe, Sharpe. Larry Sharpe, thank you very much for your time today, sir. We appreciate you.
Have a good one.
Keep fighting the good fight for freedom, sir. We appreciate you very much. What did you think of Larry Sharpe?